Welcome to another episode of the Spiritual and Ambitious podcast. Today, we're talking about how to understand clairvoyant messages. Now, I want to preface this episode with the fact that it's not going to give you every single thing you need to understand. That's why I teach what I teach. This is a practice that you need to develop and hone. It's a skill set that you already have, and you can't just do it overnight. You need to really have consistency, which I'll be talking about. But I'd love to invite you to my free Spirit Guide Masterclass. If you haven't already taken it, you can find it over at messengerofspirit.com/class to learn how to clearly communicate with your spirit guides. And I talk about the 4 intuitive languages in there as well. So, all right, clairvoyance, what is it? Well, if you are a student of mine and you've taken my program for intuitive languages, or you've taken my quiz, you know that there are 4 main intuitive languages: the seer, the owl, the empath, and the channeler. And today I'm talking about the seer. Now, can you have all of them? Yes. But normally we will have 1, maybe 2 languages that are really close together. So today it's more about the seer. And a lot of people want to see spirit, and then they see spirit and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm running. I'm never doing it. I'm scared. So the way that I teach is a safe, effective way. And I didn't have what I teach back then. So I ran away for years because I actually saw a spirit coming to my door. That scared me. That happened when I was little. And then as I got to be an adult, I had it happen again before I took training, and I was reading all the books and they were cool. They had some techniques to help me open up, but they didn't have any kind of protection. I didn't know what I was getting. I didn't have a mentor to ask questions to. So I remember seeing a shadowy figure come to the door, and my dog got out of bed and started barking at it. And I lived by myself at this point in my life. And I realized it was just my grandfather coming in to say hi, but I was really, really scared. So this is why I encourage you to take a class and have a mentor. I do that for intuitive languages. And let's go ahead and talk about what you need. Well, I really believe you need a mentor so that when things come up, you are not so scared. But I also believe that you need to create a consistent relationship with your spirit guides, because your spirit guides are your number 1 team to actually make sure that only the right spirits are coming in and talking to you, and they're giving you the messages. So what happens when people get excited about developing their intuition? They're like, woohoo, I'm open, I'm ready to go. And then they might not know that they need to talk to their spirit guides. Like I'm saying, our spirit guides are over like next to us. So if you're on YouTube, you can see me pointing to the right. If you're listening through Apple, Spotify, somewhere else, just imagine that your spirit guides are like over standing to your right. Well, then if we don't know that they're there, we might say, but I also want to talk to everybody over here on my left. And that could be my loved ones, but it also can open up doors to random spirits that don't need to be there. So once you realize, oh, I only want to talk to my spirit guides, and they can give messages to me from my loved ones and anybody else that needs to come through, that's a huge aha, because they are the filter. So what I'm going to say is make sure that you're working with your spirit guides through a filter. And guess what? They actually will create symbols for you that have information. And because they know your energy system, as long as you create a consistent relationship with your spirit guides, they will give you symbols, which are clairvoyant ways to get the messages. Now, this is kind of resting on the fact that your primary intuitive language being clairvoyance. Now, you can still have clairvoyance, and I encourage you to develop all of the languages, because as you shift and you change and your body and your energy change too, you might start getting messages in different ways. So I don't want you to just hone in on one way to get messages. And that means if you're a channeler, empath, and owl, listen up to this episode so that you can be aware of how it comes in. But your spirit guides will help give you symbols that are packed with information. So, an example, when you are receiving messages from your guides, you might see, let's say, a purple triangle. And that purple triangle, you're like, I don't know what that means. Nope, never saw it in my life. Must be something I made up. Well, if your mind is clear, which I teach, you're going to get the symbol, and spirit chose it because there's lots of information in there. So your job is to just receive the clairvoyant symbol and just understand what it means. So you can acknowledge, I see a purple triangle, keeping your mind clear. Oh, it means that I need more balance in my spiritual connection. So purple could represent spirit for you, and a triangle could represent balance. So spirit gives you symbols. What I say to do, talk to your spirit guides every day, 5 to 15 minutes each day. When you are receiving clairvoyant messages, stay open, clear your mind, learn how to clear your mind, and stay open when that symbol pops in and just ask, what does it mean? What does this mean? You can say, thank you for the message. What does this mean? And you can establish a symbol dictionary. This is something I teach in my program for intuitive languages. You get out a dictionary and you start putting your symbols down. Now, that doesn't mean that that same symbol will mean the same thing every single time, but most of the time it will. So let's just say that, you see a bicycle. Well, bicycle could mean something to you. For me, it means balance. But one time out of 100, that bicycle could mean you need to get your butt on a bicycle and go exercise or something like that. So you always ask, what does it mean? Because you don't want to assume. If you assume you know what it means, that's your ego, your mind taking over, and not your spirit message. So consistency, I feel you need a mentor, especially from what I've seen with my students and my own journey. Consistency, talking to your spirit guides, and consistency with your exercises as well. And then pay attention to your symbols. So I will share a little bit more when we come back right after this quick break. This episode is sponsored by my free Spirit Guide Masterclass. Inside, you'll learn the 5 C's of Spirit Guide communication, your role with your Spirit Guides, 2 proven effective strategies to stop second guessing yourself and your intuition, and the single most important step to understand your intuitive guidance, along with 4 ways to perceive your spiritual intuitive messages. You'll also be getting a workbook to go through this class as well. You can join at messengerofspirit.com/free class. Hey, thanks for staying with me. We are talking about how to receive your clairvoyant messages on the Spiritual and Ambitious podcast here today. And I do have some cards I've pulled, some messages I want to share at the very end. But if you haven't signed up for the Spirit Guide Masterclass, you'll want to do it. I'm going to be giving you 5 steps to clearly communicate with your spirit guides. You can go to messengerofspirit.com/class. All right, so we've been talking about consistency, having a mentor, connecting to your spirit guides, and understanding your symbols. But I do want to talk about clairvoyance in different ways. So once you open your clairvoyance, it can come through in symbols, but also you can receive colors too. So you might start to see colors when you're meditating, or when you're asking for an answer, you might see green and you're like, great. What is this? Well, colors, they're symbols too. Green could mean get outside nature. It could mean, hey, you've got to do some healing in your heart chakra. It could mean money's coming in, or pay attention to your money. So you've got to ask, just like you do with the symbols, what the colors mean. But what's really cool about the colors is as you're seeing these colors, they can also be symbols of what you want to wear to help improve things in your life. So it's an energetic reminder. So let's just say that it's about heart chakra healing. Okay, well, wear a green sweater, or you can find a green necklace with a green crystal to help you. So know that, yes, colors are symbols, but also if you're asking for yourself and you keep getting that same color over and over, you can actually wear this color in your life to help improve your energy for XYZ topic or whatever it is. So that's a really cool nuance that not a lot of people think about, not a lot of people know. But we're sticking here with clairvoyant messages, and that's what can come through. You can also start to see faces. So faces can be like, da-da, here's my face. You can actually see it very clearly. But, 99% of the time, that's not what happens. You can see it, and that's what a lot of people expect because of movies, or that's what they want. But spirit is very light and quick. So oftentimes it's like, boop, there's the face and it leaves. So it's almost like very fast. Boom, boom, there it is. So when you're seeing a face, a lot of times it'll look like a memory. So you're remembering something from your day, or you're remembering somebody in your life, or something of that sort. Now, when gosh, I'm seeing this picture image in my head, and I'm seeing the wrinkles and the nuances, that that's a message from your clairvoyance, from your spirit guides, because your memory, your recall usually is not that accurate. Like, you will see a face, but you don't quite have the entire nuances of what they look like. When that happens, it's normally, this is a clairvoyant message, because like you couldn't even remember that they had that little freckle over there on their face. And that's coming in from spirit. But spirit will oftentimes too give you messages. And when you're seeing these messages, they can be people or situations, and they're moving back and forth, almost like a GIF, right? So when you're seeing these moving images over and over, this is usually a test of your clairvoyance. Hey, do you see this? We're sending you these symbols, and are you getting this? But there's often too a message within those moving symbols. So what do? Well, when you're getting those messages, guess what you're going to do? You're going to ask, what is this? What does this mean? Why am I seeing this? Sometimes students say to me, Whitney, I'm seeing things that I did that day. Almost like your brain is processing, oh, I saw this today. I saw this today. Okay. But oftentimes your spirit guides are trying to get through your clairvoyance to just allow for yourself to relax. And oftentimes too, we get this at night, right before we're going to bed. One of the things that I'm going to share here is ask your spirit guides to communicate with you during a 5 to 15 minute meeting every day. And then ask that after that 5 to 15 minute meeting, that's it. That's all. Because a lot of times people will wake up at 3 a.m. and they're getting spirit communication. This is your time to sleep. You need to sleep, or spirit will take you on an astral travel, which we're going to be talking about on an upcoming episode. Allow yourself to actually just be. Have the time to talk to spirit. Let your mind wander and flow as your spirit guides are talking to you. And then when you're done, let's let it be done. And you need to be grounded in your body and recharge your body. So it can look like symbols. It can look like faces. It can look like memories, like you're thinking about somebody. And it can also look like a full apparition. That is rare, but it can happen. So I remember one of my earlier experiences when I was really little is I would see an arrow kind of fly through the hallway. And sometimes I would see an apparition in the hallway, like a person. And sometimes it's a shadowy figure. A lot of people feel like shadowy figures just have to be bad, and they're not most of the time when you're working with your spirit guides, because there are figures coming through. It's just your third eye, your clairvoyant center either doesn't have enough light or is still being developed, where you just can't process all of the details. So spirit will show you different symbols and things like that. How do you put all this together? Well, I recommend that you talk to your guides, find a time, pick 5 to 15 minutes each day, clear your mind. After you've asked questions, allow for it to come through. And then the more that you work with your guides, the more that you do these intuitive connection times, the more that it will grow. But I know that you're going to have questions along the way. And there are some exercises you can do for your clairvoyance too. And one of the best ones that I do is in my program, I'll say sit in a dark room and call on your spirit guides and allow your mind, your third eye to open and just say what you are seeing. So I have more detailed instructions in four intuitive languages, but right now, just love for you to take the masterclass, learn more about your guides, messengerspirit.com/class, and I've got some messages for you. So ironically, our first message is the owl, and we're talking about the seer today. But what I'm getting from the owl is listen to your inner voice instead of other people's opinions. And what comes up for me is when you see a symbol from your spirit guides, don't go to Google. Don't Google, what does this mean? That's kind of our go-to sometimes. You just ask spirit, what does this mean? I need to know what this means. Thank you for the message. What does this mean? So you can't ask everybody else what it means. You only know. And oftentimes they'll give you a message that is just for you. So for an example, you could look online and find out what giraffe means. But when spirit gives me giraffe, it can mean different things. It can mean eat leafy greens. It can mean you're seeing the future, you're visioning. It can mean stand up for yourself. You are only going to know the meaning of your symbol in that moment when you talk to your guides. The next message, allow it to flow. Let that shit go. Stop thinking and allow it to flow. One of the biggest tips that I want to share is when you are working on your clairvoyance and you are sitting there talking to your guides, and it's always great when you're in right before you go to sleep or when there's a dark room, especially when you're working with clairvoyance. Sometimes you'll just be taken on a journey and you're like, I'm seeing mountains and I'm seeing stars, and now that star is transforming into a dog. This is part of developing your clairvoyance, and sometimes you want to see the meaning of it, and sometimes you just need to let it go, especially when you're talking to your guides, and just be with that process. And then once you feel like, yes, I'm getting a good flow of information, like it's flowing like water, what does this mean? Oh, what does this mean? What does this mean? Now, the last message that I have here is the card of the empath. Alone time is needed. And what speaks up, it's interesting because we have two intuitive languages that are not the seer, but they came out in the messages for today's episode. And I want to say, remember, you can have all these other intuitive languages, but what comes up for me with this is you need to actually create the time. You need the time, that consistency to do it. And really, one of the best ways to do this is to have support. If you are trying to develop your clairvoyance and you don't have a supportive spouse or partner or family or whoever's around you, it's going to be really difficult to talk to. So that's why I always say finding people that understand. All right, so that's our episode today. Thanks for hanging out with me, and go to messengerspirits.com/class to learn more about your spirit guides and your intuitive language. Bye.